Space Cowboy Books presents Simultaneous Times, a science and speculative fiction podcast. Short stories to stir the imagination by contemporary authors.
Press release from a utopia on the way down by Marisca Pichette, with music by TSG, read by Jenna Hanchey.
This isn't Omelas. You won't find a terrible secret buried deep beneath polished streets, layered with torment and shame. Along the road to our city, you won't find signs telling you to turn back or reconsider. You won't find signs encouraging you on, either. Let me tell you it straight. Take it from me. Here when the first Constitution was drafted, the first seed laid lovingly in green earth. We tried. We truly did. Our homes had windows looking out and in. Our streets welcomed bicycles and migrants both. We were bright. We were open. We were trying our best. That's the thing about well-meaning governance. Everyone has a different definition of good enough. Our grime settled on the surface from the start. Algal inflammation spread over reservoirs, appearing at first like greener grass. No, we didn't succumb to corruption or even cannibalism. No civil wars or genocides brewed behind closed doors. Not even unhoused families drifted by without our support. The reality is more mundane, which is why it didn't make headlines. Even in failure, our utopia was unremarkable. Here's what happened to our dream future. We made a roster of duties in the first month. Tasks were delegated, spread evenly across the pilot populace. I remember my job was street cleaning. I had a broom and a badge. We all had badges back then. They shone in the sun. We liked feeling useful. With our tasks and our badges, there seemed no end to the good we could do. We planted roof gardens and hopes in sun-dappled schoolyards. We constructed aquifers and solar fields, revived heirloom species on the brink of extinction. We made bartering sustainable and accessible year-round. We planned for everything at the start. I swept. I smiled. I learned everyone's names and soon everyone's babies' names. We lived a perfect year. Harmony was in our hands. Utopia was ours for the taking. And then someone said, "Do we really need the roster? We can all see, surely, what needs doing." This made sense. We'd created harmony, hadn't we? How difficult would it be to maintain? Badges removed, we shifted priorities. Tasks once held for a month now alternated by a week. I stopped sweeping, reassigned to planting, then to waterworks, then to solar panels. In the span of time it took me to master my original task, I instead learned 5 new ones, mastering none before moving to the next. I lost my badge, but it didn't seem to matter. Bodies passed me by, vague shapes hurrying between duties. Distracted, I I forgot to learn their names. After spring, we convened again. We agreed that something wasn't working. The square looked shabby, our new houses disheveled. Instead of weekly, we decided, tasks could switch daily. That way, it was thought, everyone would soon be capable of doing anything. Our city would shine again. I pitched forward into a new way of things. One day I was tilling, the next welding, the next typing up news. Halfway through the year, I woke to find myself assigned to sweep the street. I couldn't find my broom. You can see now what happened. Routines once strong grew fuzzy. Our motivation waned as expertise declined. Windows dimmed, unclean on both sides. I can't remember whether it's my turn to wipe them. 5 years on, you can still visit our not-quite utopia. The signs guiding you here are small, crookedly installed and peeling at the edges. Our town square is a little patchy, but it does as well as anything else. Anyone is welcome in our biodegradable homes, though the cottage gardens are just as full of weeds as food. Covered in dust, the solar field doesn't work as well as it used to. It's hard to remember all that needs doing, but we assure you, if something breaks, someone will notice. Someone will know how to fix it. And maybe in a week, a month, a generation, it'll be their turn with the tools.
The Thing You Never Were by Eric Fomley, with music by Fog Machine, read by Jean-Paul Garnier. Come in, the electronic voice says from the comm above. You take a tentative step into the room, and the door slides closed behind you. The room is white and sterile, contrasted with your sweat-stained red jumpsuit and dirty work boots. It's empty, save for a mind cradle that dangles from the ceiling. You've never been in the upper levels of the factory before. Few have. You hope you've not done something to upset the corporation. I was requested? You try in vain to keep the tremor from your voice. You were. The corporation would like to recognize you for your efforts over the previous quarter. You outperformed your peers in a ratio of almost 2 to 1. Your productivity has attracted the notice of the board of directors. A high honor. A moment of silence ensues, full of expectation. Thank you, you say, though you feel anything but grateful to the corporation. You are being rewarded for a job well done. The company would like to extend a day off to you. Your heart stops beating for a moment. You've been in the factory since you were taken from your family as a small child. Your parents were over the child allotment, so the government took you and leased you to the corporation to work off your debt to society. The debt of life. This factory is all you know. The work is all you know. A day without work? What else is there? You notice the silence lingers again and say, thank you. This is not your only reward. The company would also like to offer you a special opportunity to encourage your continued diligence and to encourage others to try and attain the levels of productivity you have. we would like to offer you a memory. You suck in a breath. You've heard rumors of memory sharing, but it was always something that happened outside, away from the factory. A memory? You rasp. A day spent in the mind cradle. Access to the company's broad database containing millions of stored memories. You may select one of your choice, and when you connect with the mind cradle, it is better than viewing the memory. The memory becomes yours. The cradle syncs with your brain and nervous systems. You will feel and experience every part of it as if it were your own. Your mind reels. The opportunity is a generous one. You've not heard of anyone else getting to spend a day away from work to live a moment from outside the facility. You feel at once both honored and bitter. You think then of your peers, the people who have worked alongside you, who are also taken away from their families. What any one of them would do to have the same opportunity you're being extended. It makes your stomach churn. You feel selfish just for doing what they told you to do and doing it well. Step up to the mind cradle. You do. The mind cradle reacts as if it were a tentacle coming from a creature in the ceiling. It snakes towards you as you approach, unfolding and wrapping itself around your body, fastening itself to your skull. You feel a gentle thrum where parts of it interface with your brain. The metal is cold. You feel your pulse behind your eyes. A display appears in your vision, overlaying the white room. It's a menu with hundreds of categories, files containing different types of memories and experiences. The sheer quantity boggles your mind. You begin to sift through them, many of the activities you've never heard of. You speak of the outside world with your peers often, but most were taken at a young age, before getting the opportunity to enjoy life for themselves. There are a slew of outdoor activities like skydiving, skiing, hiking, parasailing. You tab to the next group. A day at the park, watching a football game in a stadium, a night out on the city. There's days relaxing at home, going to see a holo movie, tram racing, flying into the upper atmosphere of Earth. Romantic dates, sexual experiences of every type and variety, celebrity memories, historical events, and so many more. It's overwhelming. You can feel your chest tightening. No matter how generous the reward, you can't shake the feeling that you're doing something wrong, giving in more to the corporation that already has everything, that already owns you. Doing something all of your peers, your new family, doesn't get to do. Do I have to select a memory? You ask. You would choose not to take the gift the corporation has offered you? Even though the voice sounds electronic, there's a sour, grating edge to the question. It hints at negative possibilities. Something you and everyone in this place knows well is how cruel the corporation can be if you disappoint them. The prospect of a day in one of their recalibration chambers is enough to curl your skin. You've acted out before, gotten to experience the shock therapy, the holo classes you've lived through, where they show you what they can do to your family if you don't behave. You barely know them. You were so young, but you don't want to hurt them. It wasn't their fault you were taken. You were kicking and screaming when they took you from your father's arms. He resisted, and they tased him. The last thing you saw when they put you in the truck was 3 of the government enforcers kicking the shit out of your father on the ground. No, you don't want to disobey. You try switching gears. I mean, how do I select a memory? When you decide you want a particular memory, the mind cradle will recognize your choice when you focus on selecting it. The voice sounds placated, and you feel like you got out from any punishment. Now, to find a memory. You're not really interested in anything you've seen so far. There seem to be endless possibilities. You don't really want to relive anything. Your heart isn't into the reward at all. But you know the consequences, and you need to make the most of it. So you sift through the categories. You could always choose to relive a memory of your own, from your early childhood, couldn't you? The thought seems appealing for a moment, and then shifts to negative connotations. Old wounds. You managed to bury your pain somewhere deep in the first few years of your service here. You don't want to rehash those feelings. Select a memory, the voice says with a slight hint of annoyance. The reward does not extend to limitless patience. You're out of time. I'm still trying to decide, you say, hoping it will buy you a few more minutes. You think about taking the easy route and just selecting from one of the outdoor activities. Something you've never heard anyone talk about. But you're sure they will make you talk about your new memory with your peers to encourage them to push for the same reward. And the feeling of sharing what it's like to skydive or hike or ski with your peers is not something you feel will make any of them happy. You don't want them to resent you. You don't want to resent yourself. Think about what it is you want more than anything else, the voice prompts. You close your eyes and look deep inside yourself, to the core of who you are and who you wish you could be. The kernel of an idea appears there, expands, and molds. Something you hadn't really thought about. Something you know you want more than anything else. If things were different, if you weren't their property, if you were free. I know what I want, you say. You look for the right tab and select a memory. Something simple, something you know will help you feel what it would be like to have this desire. The mind cradle chimes. Your vision fades. The room temperature changes from comfortable to slightly cool. You hear the monotonous tone of a heart monitor. Suddenly, you can see you're standing in the hospital room it showed in the memory preview. A nurse walks towards you, smiling, holding something bundled in her hand. You feel a jittery excitement like you've never felt before. Would you like to hold your baby? The nurse asks. Before you can respond, she's putting the newborn in your arms. Hello, beautiful, you feel yourself say. Tears start to swell in your bleary eyes. In this episode of Simultaneous Times, you heard Press Release from a Utopia on the Way Down by Marisca Pichette, with music by TSG, and The Thing You Never Were by Eric Fomley, with music by Fog Machine. Theme music by Dan Luscombe. Be sure to visit us at our bookstore in Joshua Tree, California, or visit us online at spacecowboybooks.com.